Yay, we finally did it. Oh my God.
Finally. Tech
This is,
overlords.
yes, the tech is on our side at the moment. So thank you. And I just want to take a moment to take a breath because of all of the anticipation of getting here. And we experienced some technical difficulties, and just want to honor this moment. So thank you, Amanda, for showing up. And now we're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So this is the episode, actually officially number 3 of our Sovereign Nurse Association podcast. And we've taken a little pivot because, you know, it seems like this whole process of what we're offering the association has been an experience of like throwing the spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks. And I think that the theme of that is like, we had a big mission that we created together, and that was that the Sovereign Nurse Association is a movement and a platform for supporting nurses to embrace their inherent gifts and to align with them, and to basically, I'm summarizing the mission that's on our website, but really it's embodying this core essence of who we are as individuals underneath the title of nurse, and broadcasting that, expressing that out into the world. And wherever you are, Nurse Amanda transformed, there's another level of healthcare available to people, to other people. And we want to be the source for that. Like, we want to be the go-to place where people know this is where what I'm going to get for myself, you know, as nurses, and also eventually to the public, I would say, the outside. So I'm really excited to be here to interview Amanda Miller. And my name is Heather Keller, and I am, I've just been standing for the transformation of healthcare since I awakened to my own well-being a long time ago. And it's just been something I've dedicated my life and my practice to supporting the evolution of healthcare. And so this brings me today to Amanda Miller. And I just want to honor and welcome you to this broadcast, and like broadcast that, like, you're imprinting the field of awareness with a new definition of what it is to be a nurse for the planet. And
what it feels
yeah.
like.
Yeah. And so it's such a great honor to celebrate you. And I think this is your first podcast. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's one of my first as well, too. And so I feel like this is such a, the future realized now, and the beginning of that. I have a bunch of questions for you, and I just want people to get kind of like sit up and grab their tea, and like we're all sitting around in a circle, just like getting to know each other and getting to feel the essence of you, like not putting on a show. I mean, it is a show, but we get to really feel, palpate you and what you're standing for, and all of your what you're bringing in your practice, and then personally. Sorry, I gotta fly here. So Amanda Miller / RNBMSN.
Yeah.
And then more alphabets after your name on your website. But beyond integrative, and integrative is close to my heart, because I'm also pursuing a PhD in integrative medicine. And so just to be able to bring you out and to hear your story is like everything that I've learned about integrative medicine happening. So, Amanda, where are you? Why did you become a nurse? Like, tell me whatever you want to tell me that's on your heart right now about you.
Yeah, would love to. I just first want to start with like, I love that you said just like get cozy and pretend like we're in this like circle sipping our tea, because that's certainly what I feel like is needed, is this more kind of like humanization of understanding nurses and our stories, and how that really leads us into where we want to see healthcare transform, and maybe why we went into the field to begin with, and maybe why we were a little disillusioned when we got there, right? And how we can kind of take it from there and make it what we want to make it, which is the whole mission of Sovereign Nurse Association, right? I mean, so love that you mentioned that. And I just got this beautiful visualization of that. So yeah, it's awesome. So where I kind of started out was, I went into the nursing field because I kind of went into this realization of like, well, you know, this is a really noble profession, and, you know, people would really kind of see me as valuable and I can help people. You know, that was kind of what I was thinking at that ripe age of like 20 when I went in, because my bachelor's degree, I graduated and I couldn't find a job in that field. So nursing was kind of like a second option for me. And it was just kind of like a pick out of a hat kind of thing.
What was your first degree?
It's in like environmental resources. And
Okay.
yeah, like I was really passionate about climate change. And so yeah, so that was kind of my initial bachelor's degree. And then nursing kind of fell into my lap after that, because I have a lot of family members in the nursing field. So I was like, yeah, that seems like, you know, a noble profession. I think I could go that route and I think I could help people. Come to find out, there's a lot more kind of deeper layers to that I'll get into later. But I started out as an ICU nurse and have done that for 9 years now. Worked in critical care medicine, really like in the thick of it, saw a lot of crazy stuff. And almost initially, maybe a few years in, like 2 years in, I started to get really disillusioned. Like, just started noticing a lot of people seemed like it's almost like a form of torture. I felt like people were almost like these projects, and just the humanization of it all was taken out of this sort of industrialized based medicine.
You mean with the patients?
Yeah, where, you know, a lot of these ICU patients, they would be told, you know, you absolutely have to have this surgery. It's a life-saving surgery. You know, these are critical conditions. So absolutely, that's the truth in a lot of these cases. But I think what wasn't really presented was the overall picture, and what I believe is like true informed consent, which is like, this is not the only option. And when you go down this route, this is what it could look like potentially in the future. And we just want you to be aware of that fact. I felt like none of that was on the table. And it was more so just this like sunshine and rainbows, like you have to have this surgery, so you're going to have it. And good luck kind of thing. And it really took out this like, well, whoa, you know, this person has a whole story behind them. They have a family, like they need to know what this might look like down the road. And so I really started to feel like these tugs on my heartstrings, like these more moral and ethical dilemmas that I faced being in that critical environment on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I think I found the same thing, and not just in the ICU, but like, you know, as healthcare professionals, you have a certain tools that you can offer.
Yeah.
And when you don't know about the other tools, it's scary to present other things that you don't actually know about. So when you're trained in pharmacology and surgery, that's what you offer. And then whatever happens after that is like, I don't know, because I'm not going to see it. I haven't been there or experienced it myself. And how can you talk about that? That's going to take so long. Like,
right. And
we just had,
any other options are kind of like shunned, and that's like that weird woo-woo medicine that we don't go down that route. Like if you mention it, oh, you don't really quite fit here in this place, so what are you doing here, kind of thing.
oh yeah, definitely feel. I think that was one of the biggest things is like as soon as I started meditating and realizing, well, the lights came on inside. It's like, oh, I have a mind that's separate from my thoughts. Like, what's going on here? And then you started seeing things with different eyes, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's it. You see things with this brand new lens, and it's almost like you can't unsee what you now know. And as I began to uncover these other modalities and really saw the deeper, more meaningful healing that was happening with them, it was like, whoa, it felt so much harder to do my job. And it felt like it was even more draining and even more exhausting, because it wasn't like, physically hard anymore. Now it was like emotionally and spiritually tough for me.
So what were those modalities?
So I started off kind of on the more mechanical and like biochemical level. I got really fascinated with prevention in terms of like, oh, let me study functional medicine and like these lifestyle measures, right? Nutrition and sleep, and movement. And those are all obviously very important, but it wasn't until I discovered mind body medicine and these deeper, more consciousness based healing modalities, where you're really getting to the root of these conditions, not physically, but also mentally and emotionally, and how they're all linked. That was where things just like really clicked for me, that people's shocks and traumas and life experiences and how that affects their day-to-day life, how they view themselves, how they view the world, and yeah, obviously how that impacts their body too, and how that's held in the body as these kind of like adhesions and stagnation in the body, and really what cuts off people's life force.
Yeah, I think, what you just described about the more, when you started seeing with the new lens, you noticed that your energy or like your level of, I would say, kind of letting the air out of your wings, like you start to become more and more disenchanted with where you're showing up as a nurse, because it doesn't align with who you are and how you're being anymore. And so it's like really the energy stops flowing through you.
That's exactly it. Like I would be there at work and I would listen to my coworkers kind of whine and complain about like counting down the days and the hours until their retirement, and I would just be like, God, is this it for me? Like I felt simultaneously like so stuck in a career because I had put so much time and effort and education and like so much into this money, into this degree and into this license, and I was so proud of it. And simultaneously it was like I felt like I was meant for more. Like it felt like my heart was trying to pull me to be like, this isn't it for you, like there's more for you. But I was so afraid,
Yeah.
of my power, of my own power.
So what was the actual like moment where you just like, I don't know, broke, or when did you to realize that there was another way, or it was time for transition, and like, yeah, that process?
Yeah. So it felt like things really shifted for me in 2020. I as I started really kind of like waking up to the truth of who I was and my values and like living in alignment with that, I started really questioning a lot of just what the mainstream and kind of conventional practices were. And when I did that, I got a lot of pushback from my colleagues and my coworkers, like to the point where I would feel like attacked at times, just circled by all these other people being like, why aren't you taking this juice? What are you doing? Like, you're harming your patients, you're harming yourself, you're harming your family, like really saying hurtful things.
Like
Um,
what specifically? Like, if
so
you want to share.
yeah, so just, they didn't understand my decision making, and they thought that making that decision to wait and forego getting the juice
Okay.
was basically hurting people. That's what they were telling me. And yeah, they just couldn't understand where I could ever make that decision. And like, they were losing that relationship with me as their coworker and as their, honestly, as a friend too, because in that critical care environment, like, you really become family with these people. You're in these dire situations, you have to rely on each other. And that was always my worry, is like, pretty much my whole life I was like the good girl, right? I kind of followed the rules, I went in line, I kind of took these societal steps. And so I was always terrified and deathly afraid of like other people judging me, or other people thinking that I was weird or crazy or whatever. And in that moment where I chose my own truth and I chose to go my own path, despite these other people that I truly deeply cared about judging me, thinking I was crazy, thinking I was weird, and not understanding where I was coming from, it was like, whoa, something shifted, that I am going towards what my heart is calling me towards, instead of just falling in line and accepting what these other people are saying and kind of going with the herd, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're talking about that scenario, all I feel is like shame, like wanting you to feel shame.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I did. Like, don't get me wrong, I was crying in the bathroom. I felt horrible that day.
Yeah. And how it actually doesn't fit. I mean, the fact that everyone, I think, in their heart of hearts who's a nurse, I mean, goes in it because you want to help people and help yourself. Like, you don't do anything really out of ill will. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And then for people not to recognize that in you is really painful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the biggest wound that it really unearthed in me was that, like I mentioned, that kind of childhood good girl wound that I had, that was like, I just follow the rules. I'm just, I don't cause a scene. I'm not too big. I'm not too bold. I'm just kind of, compliant, and I toe the line. Right. And so that was like, a big shock to my system of like, I can't be that girl anymore.
Suddenly you're not part of the group. Suddenly,
right.
Yeah, that's
And
tough.
it's like, if I'm not, then I can't play small anymore. Can't be out of the limelight. I can't like just be quiet in the corner and not be noticed. That's where I felt safe.
So at this time, though, you were already like working on yourself and doing all these integrative modalities at this time, and sort of building up your own internal reservoir of your truth and your value. I mean, it seems like you're starting to expand on what it is that is true for you, and then you're like resonating this truth and starting to get aligned with your beliefs and values, and your who you're being. And then at some point it doesn't work at all anymore, right? Like something's changes that have happened, right?
Right. you can't go back. It's like once you see that truth in yourself and what that kind of like core essence is of you, minus the programming, minus the childhood wounding, like who you actually are, you can't go back after that.
You can't like force yourself in that place anymore. It hurts too much to stay. Right?
Yes.
Basically. And I think that's your story, and what you're pointing to is exactly what's happening out there for everyone who's experiencing this thing called burnout, which, I mean, everyone wants to prevent burnout, but I'm like, yes, get burned out so you actually get to your truth, you know? Like, stop trying to feel better. You can't feel better when you're burning up inside, you know? Like, it's time to transform.
Exactly. And I can't tell
that's
you
where you come in.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many nurses I've seen like experience those feelings of like burnout, exhaustion, like feeling like they live this like mediocre life or like partially fulfilled life, and they want to do something about it so bad, but they're like simultaneously just stuck and lost, and they like don't know where to start. And so then they'll like search for these kind of surface level things like, oh, let me, do this diet or this detox or this cleanse, right? Or like even like self-help books, it still kind of just scratches the surface of the like deeper healing that really needs to be done. So yeah, in my opinion, it's like until you actually get to like the nitty-gritty of like the childhood wounding, the shadow work, like the more like embodiment practices of like really moving through this stuck energy and this stuck stagnant like emotions and trauma, until you move through all that, like you're going to keep kind of searching for those external things that are going to quote unquote fix you, and I really got stuck in that loop for a long time. Yeah.
Hi. I mean, I'm 51, and I just realized, well, another level of the not enough thing. Like that is the fucking virus that we should be worried about. Not this other thing that's outside of us, but the not enough virus that lives inside of us that makes us do all these other things or look outside of ourselves for all these other things that are going to make us someday something that we think we need to be when everything we have is right here in front of us.
Exactly.
So I love that you talk about on your Instagram page about you're not broken. Like why do you think you need to be fixed, and how you're talking about when you experience like disease or something, it's like something's wrong. It's like, no, your body's taking you through the healing process because it knows what to do, and we're just like getting to witness ourselves be healed literally by trust and faith and whatever, like looking into ourselves.
Exactly.
Am I right? Or you want to add to that?
That's exactly it. I mean, you're basically describing like what I call the BodyMind rebalancing method. Like this is the method that I use to help people remember their wholeness. Because as nurses, and healing professions in general, we tend to be these kind of wounded healers where we believe that we're not capable, that we're not good enough. You and I have talked about this, that we're like just a nurse. So we kind of play small, and we don't really believe that we're capable or adequate enough to go after these kind of like bigger goals and dreams. And we don't really start to realize that until we start to move past what is kind of behind it all. So what I really help people do and help these healing professionals do is strip down to their core. So who are they in their like divine blueprint, what those values are, what they truly care about, and start to slowly chip away at the things that are not aligned with that. So the behaviors that we partake in, the coping mechanisms when we're stressed, right? I mean, so many nurses struggle with like, I know, and I did, like I'm saying all this because these are all the things I struggled with, like binge drinking. I mean, I would black out almost every time I was off, binge eating every time I would get off of work, just, stuff my face, get lost for hours in social media. I mean, these are all things that when I actually looked at these triggers and looked what was underneath, it was all fear. it was all just fear and these limiting beliefs about myself of me not being capable of what was on my heart. And so these are the things that I turned to that would make me feel better, that would help me numb myself and help me kind of escape that feeling that I would feel of that I'm not capable, or I don't matter enough to do something big, to do something bold with my life.
And if you think about that, what you're just pointing to, of that low vibration stuff that we're kind of like have tucked away inside of ourselves. I call it like, our hidden jewels or whatever, our we're digging for our treasures. When I talk about the mission, it's like we're going to connect to our inherent gifts, what you're talking about. And then when we tap into that, it's like then we get to be the nurse that we thought we were going to be the nurse doing, like because you're fully expressed and you're tapped into the gifts that you have inside. You don't have to go to those other things like fixing yourself with diet and what all the other things that cause more confusion or analyzing ourselves. You just go out and live your life. Like I saw your Instagram, like you're going out and climbing trees and you're playing and you're doing fun things and you're living your fucking life.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of, like you alluded to it, like once your spirit is alive again, like once you're really living again, like you're rediscovering all these things that you loved doing as a little kid. And what that true, like living a full life, what that actually feels like and what that looks like. And it's so different for everyone. Like when I walk people through this method, it's not like, hey, you need to do like this, and this. It's helping them uncover that core essence and that soul blueprint that's within themselves, stripping away what's in the way and using the like embodiment methods that help them actually move through the stagnation that's in their literal fascia, like the cellular memory. And so then once you do that and you're much more open and expanded, you have space to actually go after and like figure out what that is and what that looks like for you.
And breathe.
And breathe. Yes. Holy shit, and breathe. Yeah.
So I love that you like this body mind rebalancing thing is something that you created, right? It's like yours. It's your baby.
Oh yeah, my baby.
So can you talk about how it's like different from other mind body medicine? I mean, I've studied so many techniques, like, tell me about your specific one and how you got there. Like, how did you create that?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned how I kind of started out in the more kind of physical and biochemical approach where I was talking and doing like liver cleanses and gut cleanses and the nutrition stuff. And so, yes, I have training and certifications in that. And then when I started kind of uncovering more of the mind-based stuff, that's when I got trained in hypnotherapy. So that's where I can really help people uncover like what those childhood wounds are and get to the beliefs that are behind those childhood wounds, like what we mentioned, like I'm not good enough, I don't matter, I'm not capable, those types of beliefs that really stagnate our being. And so kind of combining those two things of the mind and the body, and doing more of the deeper work, like the identity work, the frequency work, actually shifting to align with what those core values are and what that like true being and core essence of you, like your soul blueprint. Once you combine all of those together, it's kind of this like magic bullet where even if your body hasn't shifted yet, you've shifted at this energy level, this frequency level that you start to really feel good, like your well-being is on this next level. And so then you start like cascading into all these other upgrades in your life, actually, making more money, going after making a business, being more creative, like actually starting to see something that you're feeling on your heart and start to feel capable of going after it. And now you have all this open space in your body to let that in and to receive it, because your nervous system is like, hell yeah, I want that. And I know it's going to feel uncomfortable, But now I have the tools to support myself when I feel that sensation arise in my body of like, oh God, shit, I can't. And then how to move through that so that you do continue down that path, even though it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like, I remember being, and still at times, the journey never ends. Like you're always continuing to like meet resistance and then go into it and expand. Like, so life, once you say yes to this, right, it's just like a crescendo. And like what you were saying is things just keep opening and opening and opening. And there's always things that are going to keep challenging us to grow in different ways. But it does get easier because you've been there before and you start to learn how to trust in yourself and like, oh, I know this is scary, but actually I'm really going to love myself after, because I know this is where I know I need to go there, because that's what I really want. So it's taking me in that direction. And like what you were saying about doing the physical things first, I did the same thing. Went down the same road. I was a chemistry major first, so I loved science, so I went down those scientific paths, and I just kept wanting to go deeper, like this isn't the essence, until I get to the mind, the things that we can't see. The settled realm is where everything, uncovers itself. And what you said about getting to those core beliefs is so powerful, because what you said about attuning yourself to those core beliefs, it's like suddenly you start to attract the things that you already want, and the things that aren't good for you just naturally dissolve away. And so like it becomes easier and easier to recognize, oh yeah, this is for me and this isn't for me. And it's not so hard, like a fight, like I have to be on this diet, or I have to stay away from these things. It doesn't make you feel good at some point, right? Because you're not a match for that vibrationally anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, like I prefer to feel good instead of having a hangover in the morning. It's like, and it's just naturally starts to, in the beginning, I think everyone has to play with what it feels like to omit that from your life, but eventually it just doesn't show up anymore as attractive.
Yeah, exactly. And once you start attuning yourself to that new identity, the one that's confident, the one that trusts herself, the one that goes after her dreams, even though she's fucking scared. Like when you ask yourself, how does she operate and how does she move through the world? It's very different. Like you might feel some contraction, you might feel some resistance, but you have the tools to be able to move through that so that you can dissolve it and take action anyway,
So tell me a little bit about the reinvention for nurses, because this is so aligned. And I want people to hear it because it's huge.
Yeah, it really is. Honestly, this was just something that was like recently birthed. But it's a 6-month program for nurses and healing professions to basically take them from being in that stuck, that stagnant state of feeling like I feel like I'm meant for more and this system just doesn't align with me anymore. I know there's something more out there for me, but they don't have the roadmap. They don't have the steps. They don't know what to do. And
there's no program out there called whatever,
exactly.
except for this one.
Exactly. Yeah. So I use that body-mind rebalancing method to move them through in a matter of 6 months, because we do it in a way that's slow so that we can get the nervous system on board, right? It's not this like quick fix, like, hey, I'm going to change your life in 90 days kind of thing. Like it takes time. It takes integration. It takes these kind of slow shifts where we are naturally kind of unraveling these old ways and starting to try on the new beliefs and try on the new identity. And that takes time. So I lead them through the body-mind rebalancing method of one, like discovering the vision, discovering what those values are, who that soul blueprint is, and what those big dreams are. So you have to be kind of clear on what that is first, I think. Then 2, unprogramming that wounding, those old beliefs, the old identity of what you believe now that makes you feel like you can't go after your goals and your dreams, whatever that looks like for you. Stepping into that new identity, right? And what does she believe? What does her life look like? What does she do? How does she think? What does she wear? What does she look like? You know?
Yeah.
And incorporating that nervous system piece too, of like when we move, when we start to take action, when we are in that heart-centered space and our nervous system starts to freeze up a little bit, unwinding the body, unwinding the fascia, working with the body using embodiment practices and integration practices so that we can release that resistance and release that stagnation that we feel when we start to take steps forward and we're like, oh, this is really scary. This is unsafe. This is unfamiliar. And so, yeah, we really lead them through that journey of going from that stuck, stagnant place to really being like embodied in their core essence, in the truth of who they are, feeling confident and capable of going after their goals and their dreams, whether that's deepening their career in nursing or going after something that's, you know, more aligned on their heart, like creating a healing business for themselves or a loving, committed relationship if that's what they want. Or, you know, I have a client who wants this farm and she wants to rescue animals. And, you know, so for everybody, that's so different. So when we uncover that kind of deeper, more meaningful life that's meant to be lived for you, that's what it's all about in the reinvention program. So it's so much fun.
Amazing. So what would be like the thing that someone would say to themselves, like, is this program for me? Like, what would you say? What questions would they be asking? What would they be looking for? And how would they identify themselves? Like, hey, yeah, this is for me.
Yeah. So I think a lot of nurses, we feel like, you know, when we are in that kind of wounding of I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm inadequate, we feel like we need all these other certifications and all this education. And really what this program helps us realize is that we have so much power as nurses already. We have in our scope to educate, to empower, and to motivate others. And you don't need any of that to do that, to help people. And so
Inspire.
Yes, and inspire, exactly. So I love, like, if that's the route that they want to go, then amazing. But make sure it's from a pure place. Make sure it's from your heart telling you that you want to do that and go after that, rather than feeling like I need to do that so that I have more certifications because right now I'm not good enough. You know what I mean? So it's two very different intentions behind what you're doing and the next step process that you're going through.
I liken it to like, well, this is going to help me expand versus it's going to fill a hole or a void that I think that I have, you know, like, I too struggled with the not enough thing. And in the beginning, it showed up on the physical level as bulimia. And now looking back, I realized like, it's just a different expression of feeling like there's not enough and needing more and more and more and more. And so it just manifests in so many different ways until we really get to the root of it, right? It's like you can see all the people with that are always seeking those things, and when everything is available, it's right there. So I love that you're helping them integrate, because that seems like a really big crux for us in the healing prevention is like choosing ourselves first and trusting that when we choose ourselves first, that we have that, like, that is the path that will give us everything that we actually desire. It's like we become the creators of our experience instead of trying to, like you said, fix or make things better on the outside.
Yeah. It's so much more empowering when we come from that place, because it's a place of trusting ourselves, knowing that it's safe to be in our bodies and go after what we're feeling on our hearts. That's in when we are in our body, because that experience of being in our body and being okay with those sensations is a very different like experience than living up in our head and operating from this place of I'm not enough, so I need to keep going after and doing these things and taking this and doing that in order to complete myself, so to speak.
Yeah, yucky.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to share about like your mission, about I know you wrote something about a secret sauce, and I'm guessing you shared about a little bit about that, and then like anything else you want to add about, you know, your dreams and your vision for yourself and what you see that's available through you being your most expressive, like fullest expression of Amanda.
Yeah, I love that question. I recently pivoted my business. I was helping people heal from chronic illness. And as much as that's so important and so needed in this world, I also feel like some of the most wounded and hurting and ill people are our healers. And our healers really need that support because we are the ones that are going to lead the collective into this new paradigm, which is a much more holistic way of operating. It's releasing the mechanical look of the body and accepting the body mind philosophy, which is that it is all one entity. And when we have that understanding and when we really take our power back and know that we are not broken, our bodies are not broken, they're operating exactly the way that they need to be in order to express something deeper that needs to be healed. When our healers are healed, the world is a completely different looking place. And I envision a place where people feel safe to be in their bodies and safe to do what's on their heart and actually feel capable and confident to go after those things, whether that's finding the love of your life, having a bunch of babies and going and living in the jungle, you know, living in a van, or going after and being like this powerful boss bitch in the career field, whatever that looks like. You know, people I think are so ready to start living in that truth of who they are and in that truth of they're not broken. Like, this old system is not working. The old system is what's broken. And we're ready to completely lead this whole new paradigm.
It's such a powerful dream and vision. And, you know, when Christine, the co-founder of the association, and I set out to embark on this journey, it was like we didn't have the tools or we didn't have the roadmap set out. People would say, "That's an amazing mission, but what do you actually do?" and so what I'm pointing to is like this metaphor of what you're also highlighting, is that stepping out into the unknown is the most uncomfortable and scary thing to do when you don't know where you're going, like when you're completely blind on some respect, but something deep inside of you is actually pulling you towards it. But it's like you have to take this leap of faith and just take a step and do something in that direction, and like leaning into the unknown in order to discover what's there. Because what's seen in front of us and what the seeking and searching is more of the same, like you said. But it's like, we don't know what healthcare is going to look like because it's unknown right now. But it's going to take the beings who are providing this care. And I love that you've pivoted your business because we need you. Like, I see the value of what you're offering to humanity right now, because without healthcare workers being their vibrant self, no one gets served.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I hope, and, you know, my intention is not that it's going to get worse before it gets better, but it does kind of feel like that as more and more people leave the system, and they don't have a place to turn to. I mean, the lucky ones will find you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ones that, you know, I think they know that something is off with the system and maybe they're not ready to leave it yet, but they just really want to get clear on their own path and their own purpose and their own mission. And once they do that, then, you know, all hell breaks loose from there.
Yeah. And also, I think one last thing that I wanted to contribute is that it's like this. I was just doing a workshop with this woman who does mirror work, and she went through her journey herself, and it took her a couple of years before she started offering her process with other people. And what she was saying is like, I've already gone through this, and I know that it's going to be a lot easier and a lot quicker for those that come after me. So
Yeah.
it's, you know what I mean? It's like when you push that boulder like off the cliff and it starts to gain speed and momentum and it keeps growing and growing and growing. I'm talking about like a snowball. And it gets easier because there's more consciousness moving in that direction, right? Like you start entraining more beings towards you, and then it just gets easier and easier and easier to go in that transformative direction.
Exactly. And that's why I'm such a fan of working with another practitioner or a mentor or a coach, someone in that realm, because of course you don't need that. Absolutely, you don't need it. But the beauty of it is when you have that kind of mirror to show you, and especially someone who's done what you want to do, or someone who embodies the frequency that you want to embody, you can do it so much quicker. You can collapse that timeline so much faster and really start getting to your dreams. Because like I said, for me, it's taken me 9 years of being in the healing arts and not really knowing, you know, what my true calling was until recently. So yeah, let our mistakes be your catalyst, you know.
Exactly. Bravo. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add about? I feel like I covered all the little nuggets that I wanted to cover. And is there anything else you want to add that's important?
I think that's it for me. And then I did just want to mention too the REINVENTION program. It is a one-on-one program right now, but I do intend on having it be a group program starting like mid-June. So I'll be announcing that on my Instagram over at Beyond Integrative, and also on my website. So
Awesome. So yeah, eventually this video will get will get edited and put on that link, and all of your links and contact information is there about, you know, your website and your Instagram and your programming. And so I'm hoping that this will get the ball rolling for you and for our mission, because I mean, my dream is that, you know, wherever nurses are the nodes of the healing, not healing. I'm trying to reframe that word, because it's like when you have alignment with your values and your truth and you're basically like a tuning fork wherever you go. And the words that come out of your mouth and the things that you think about and the way that you hold your body, or whatever you see gets projected out to those around you in your immediate, you know, environment. And everyone has a greater sense of well-being.
absolutely.
Wherever you are.
Yeah. I love that aspect that, you know, we have so much more effect just not even speaking at all because of the frequency that we put out from our heart. So yeah, I mean, how much impact can we make as nurses when we're actually pure in that space and can share freely and feel free to be ourselves and speak our truth and be bold and take up space and be big. Like as nurses, we are meant to be like, we're not meant to be small. We're not meant to be just the good girl. Like we are bold and we're here to make a difference and make a huge impact on the world.
I love that. Well, I also wanted to tell people, it looks like you offer like a discovery call, or can they reach out to you and get to know you, or how would them to connect?
Yeah, absolutely. So right there on my Linktree, I'll make it available because I think it's not available right now, but there is a free call where we can just hop on, talk, see if we're, a good fit, see if the, BodyMind rebalancing method is right for you. And I love working with people with where they are. So, it's not like it's this cookie cutter thing where it has to be this way and it has to look this way. If you have an aspect that you're interested, but another one that you've already done and tried, or I love kind of making it work for where people are right now. And as it evolves, the program evolves, as people evolve, I evolve, it's constantly changing as we are dynamic beings. So
I think you also have references for your BodyMind rebalancing guide, right? And also I saw the reintegration. No. Why am I drawing a blank? Reinvention program. That's also on there, so people can take a look at that and see if it resonates. And then also, I just know I did some research for yoga and arthritis. And one of the biggest things that made the difference was there's this barrier to entry. And I think one of the hardest steps is the first one. So I would say if this is resonating with anyone, then take that as a call to action and actually just reach out and connect with Amanda, because it's one of the hardest steps. And once you do, it gets easier.
Absolutely. And I definitely see it more as like a partnership, just unraveling the story of you, the story of your body, and all of it is important, and all of it is relevant to who you are and who you want to be. And yeah, I will definitely listen and hold space and be there for all of it. The messy, the real, the raw. I mean, that's the beauty of being a human. So.
And the other one last thing I want to point out is that you've done this yourself. Like, you are the walking the talk and you've done it. So it's like you've been there, and that's such an important thing about being, I think, on the path to helping other people. It's like when we become a nurse, we don't actually go through those things that these people are experiencing necessarily. So we didn't make those same choices, but you're actually leading someone down a path that you've already been down. So it's familiar for you, and you can like harmonize the space for whatever shows up on that path.
Yeah. And I never like to act like I'm like this person that has like accomplished it all and I'm, at the top and I don't have anything wrong in my life. Like, I'm still fully in the trenches myself. Like, I'm still using these methods myself to slowly unravel these parts and like integrate myself back into this whole like expressive, huge life force that I feel I truly am at the core. And yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's a journey. It's a slow path of uncovering. But once you start that momentum and it gets going, you just start to catalyze more and more that big life that you want for yourself and for your family and for your coworkers, for whoever.
starting to go with the flow instead of against it.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, Amanda,
thank
this
you.
has been so fun. Yes, I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation, and all the best to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All
This is
right.
the
Sounds
beginning.
good. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.